In this video, we're going to be going over how to set up a TLS connection to Oracle, probably more widely known as SSL. And in this demonstration, as you can see here, we have a GUI front end, which we call Workbench. And before we can even set up the connection information here, there are three concepts that we need to go over and have set up before we can even mess with the JDBC and ODBC information. So the most important concept to understand is that Oracle has a thing called an Oracle wallet, and it's basically just a container to contain the SSL certificates that are needed for the TLS handshake to work. Now, this Oracle wallet isn't automatically created. The DBA is the one that needs to create this for you. So basically what the DBA needs to do is create a client wallet for anything that's going to be the client connecting to the server, and a server wallet, and both of them need to have certificates within them in order to do this exchange. So assuming that most people are just going to be on the client end, this is something that you need to talk with your DBA to have ahead of time. But if you do, then what we'll do is go over here, and in order for basically any functionality when it comes to Oracle, usually you'll have to download what is called an instant client, is what you can see here. And it gives you a couple of functionality features, so you can able to connect to Oracle, do some manipulations. And so you can either have the instant client for the specific database version that you're connecting to, or you can have the full client download that'll give you even more utilities. But usually this is going to be downloaded and it's going to be set to your C drive. It'll create an Oracle folder for you. You'll see instant client or client depending on what you downloaded. We'll go into network and we'll go into admin. Now, I created a folder within there called client wallet. This just makes it easier, so then all the files that are related to this directory is only about the Oracle wallet. So here I can see the 4 files that are created when you create a wallet, and here are the 2 certificates. So just a big background info. Oracle Dev 2 is the client certificate. Funnel is the certificate from the server. And these 2 are just here because I had to import them into my wallet. So they're already inside the wallet, and this will allow the handshake to occur. So this doesn't have to be in a specific directory. It's mostly just easier for me to know that it's inside of Oracle, and I created a client wallet. Now, the next thing that we need to know about is these 2 files right here, SQL.net or SQLnet.aura and TNSnames.aura. So these 2 files are basically a universal way of setting up database connection information to allow different applications to connect to the server without having to set it up each and every time. So this makes it really nice and easy when you have to change a port that it's listening on, or change a protocol. Say you're going from non-encrypted to encrypted information or connection. All you have to do is just change these files and you're all set to go. You don't have to go to each individual application. So let's go over the first file, which is going to be tnsnames.aura. And I'm going to open up with Notepad++. And in here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right, so here's where we can see 2 connection information. So free is the name of the first connection, and free SSL is made is the connection information of the second one. Since we're talking about TLS, we're just going to go over the second one. So I just call this free SSL, so I know that whenever I'm using this name, I'm connecting to an encrypted connection. So we have description, we have address, protocol TCPS, S stands for secure, and this is what's going to tell that we're trying to set up an encrypted connection. We have our host to the server, we have the port that it's listening on, and most important, we have the security wallet location. So this is going to point to that client wallet that we saw earlier, so it's able to exchange and receive the certificates and be able to do that handshake. Now, with this file, whenever you're placing certain information here, like a new connection information, there is a syntax to it. We do have a blog article coming out with this YouTube video, and it's going to share some more background information and links, so then that way you can get more familiar with this. But just know that there is a syntax to it, and related informations are grouped in by parentheses. So if we're just doing a simple TLS collection like we're doing in this video, you can copy the syntax here and just change any information so it's related to what you're connecting to. And then finally, SQL net.aura. This one, we only have to do two different imports, or not imports, but two different parameters, which is going to be the SSL client authentication equal to false and point to the wallet location. Now, SSL client authentication is equal to false just because my server is not authenticating the clients through this, but I am still passing credentials through the JDBC and ODBC, so there still is a check of making sure that the client's also connecting and has the privileges to connect to the database. So these are the only two things we need to do. So now that we have these two files set up and ready, and we already have the client wallet, then the first thing we're going to do is go to our ODBC, hit here, and now users means that whenever you're connected to the computer, the connection is going to pop up here. But if you do a system DSN, that means anybody who uses the computer is able to use these connections. So I'm just going to hit add. I'm going to go over here to Oracle. I'm going to do the instant client. I click on finish. Here is where I can just put a name. So I'm just going to type in free underscore SSL YouTube. Now here, the TNS service name, this relates to this file over here. So we just tell it, hey, I want you to use this information. I'm going to paste it right here. Then it knows to look at this TNS service name, find that file, and use all the parameters that are in that file under this free SSL. So then it'll know the host, the port, the protocol, and everything. Now I'm going to pass in the username. I'm going to do test connection, and I'm going to put in the password, and the connection was successful. So as you can see here, it's very simple. I just made up a random name for this data source. So this doesn't have to relate to anything, just give context to what you're connecting to. TNS service name is what has to point to one of these type of connections. So if I just put in free, it would have passed this protocol, non-encrypted, connect to this server on that port. So that's how that works. So it's very simplistic, and we're going to hit OK. So now we have our ODBC connection up and running. And in order to do the JDBC connection, this one's a little bit different. I'm going to show you first one of my connections that I already have. And I'm going to go to here. And in order to use the TLS information, basically what we're going to have to do is download some additional jar files. I'll have the links in the description. That way you don't have to go searching for them. But basically, you're going to need these 3 additional jar files. Depending on what Oracle version you're using, you might just need the 1, or you might need all 3. And basically, when you go into the website, it's going to say JDBC and companion jars. That's what you're going to be looking for. And right now, at the moment of recording, we are using Java 17 as the language for IRI Workbench. And eventually, we're going to be updating to 21. So make sure that the jar file that you're downloading is supported by your database and also the Java that we're currently using. And if you only see the 1 for your version for Oracle, then all you need is that 1. But I just wanted to show you those. So I'm going to pretend like if I'm doing it from scratch. So Data Source Explorer is where your JDBC drivers and your connections are. So I'm going to go to this gold knuckle that says New Connection Profile. And now I'm going to hit on Oracle. I'm just going to leave it as New Oracle for the moment. I'm going to click on Next. Now, because I already created one before, I see a different screen, but you're going to see this. So we're going to select the Oracle driver that's for our version. I'm going to change the name because I already created one. And then we're going to go here to jar list. So jar list is where we're going to basically add the jars that we need. So one's going to be the actual JDBC jar file, and then the other ones are going to be the ones needed for this TLS connection to work. So I have mine already downloaded. So database setup, Oracle. So this is my Oracle jar file. So that's just simply for a regular connection. And because I believe mine is 23, version 23 that I'm connecting to, all I need is this one. I don't need the other two. But you can add the other two depending on if you need it for your version. And then we're going to hit OK. So here is the front end for this information. So the service name for this database is free. The host name is going to be the IP address. Depending how your network's set up, you can actually pass in the host name itself, not the IP address. It just depends on how they set up everything. So 2484 is the port number that's listening to. I'm going to type in the username and the password. So that's going to be the credentials I'm passing along to make sure that I have the rights to be able to connect to this database and manipulate certain schemas if I have that authority. I'm going to hit save password, and then I should be all set to go. Now this is just because if I'm just going to do a normal connection to the database, and it's going to grab everything, and it's going to create your URL down here below. But because Oracle has so many different ways of configuring, so if you're setting up TLS or not, if you're doing different types of authentication, it drastically changed the connection URL, and it makes it much harder to be able to grab all those parameters and just put it all in together without making this a very large and complex GUI. So we have a custom URL here. So what it'll do is you can put in those optional parameters, and because all JDBC URLs have to start with JDBC Oracle thin at, and everything else afterwards is depending on how you're using it. All we have to worry about here is just basically put in the optional parameters. Now, currently in this version, it does not use the TNS names because we have to be able to store that location in the file of the location. So that's going to be on an upcoming release. But for right now, what you can do is just copy this information here, because this will become our JDBC URL, and we can paste it here down below. So now this will change your URL, so that way you can have your optional parameters. If there's space or anything like that, that's fine, because in the background it actually trims up the string, so then that way you don't have to worry about formatting inside ahead of time, so that's all fine. And then if we come over here and do test connection, ping succeeded. And because it is TCP/S and we're listening on port 2484, I'm going to hit on finish, and I know that now here it is. So I'm connected to Oracle 23. I can see my schemas and tables and whatnot. So that's the JDBC section of it. And the last thing we'll have to do is we come up here to IRI preferences, IRI, connection registry, database connection. And this is where you do the mapping between Oracle and JDBC. So make sure you're using the version that you have. So I'm using 64-bit, and I can hit refresh to see if there's any new DSN. So this is going to be your your ODBC information here, and connection profile is going to be your JDBC that you see over here. So here's my free SSL YouTube that I just created. I can come over here and then connect it to my new Oracle JDBC connection I created, and I can have this set to active. Now, if I double click on this or hit edit, it'll allow me to specify some more information. So I can put the version that we're using. I can put in the credentials. And the main reason why this is here is because some ODBC drivers do not actually store the credentials. So we need to use this information from here to be able to have our executable connect to the database without having to prompt you each and every time you're going to execute a job. And this will pop up on your scripts. So if you don't want your basically your credentials being written in plain text, all you have to do is hit encrypt. So now they'll encrypt this information here. So whenever we write your scripts, it'll be an encrypted version of your credentials. And then we'll hit OK. And now we have our JDBC, our ODBC, and our mapping all set up, and you're ready to go and use our product. Thank you.